Hey there once again, fellow flight simmers. I'm back once again with another one of my Back to Basics videos. This time we're going to be talking about multi-position switches, otherwise known as rotary switches. There are many types of these switches and they can be useful for many things in the simulator. For example, they can be used for the transponder mode selection, the IRS alignment switches on airliners. You can use them for the auto brake switch, the engine start switches. Um, on the 737, and I think I've considered using them for the AC and DC meter selectors, the windshield wiper switches, and of course the EFIS map mode and the range, especially that one, which is one of the ones I'm going to be using as an example today, because that one has 8 positions, so that's kind of cool. So let's take a quick look here at the table, and I'm going to show you different types of switches that I have acquired. And they come in many different shapes and sizes. You got some metal ones here, you got some with plastic housings like these two, and then you can also get a wide arrangement of knobs so that you can put on them, depending on the look that you want to give your setup. They also have some very small, this is an encoder, but they also have some very small mini switches like this with multiple positions. So if you need something to put somewhere where it's tiny, you can consider getting some microscopic ones like that. Now these switches right here, they're pretty much like if they were a bunch of momentary latching switches. So you got the pole, which is the ground, and then you have the throws, and each one of these is a different position. This one, for example, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is exactly the right amount for the ND map range that we're going to be playing with later on. But this one, if you notice, it only has one pole and it has 8 throws. Alright, but then you got some other ones like these right here, which I hope you can pick that up real good, which basically it has 2 poles and 3 throws on each side. So you can actually some of these, like this one, I think is separate. So you would have to go through the this one here, this one here, this one here, and then you'll go through a couple of blanks, and then you'll go to this one and this one and this one. So you can assign it 6 different functions to each of the throws here. Now we got some other ones like this one here. These are actually synchronized. They got 2 poles and they got 5 throws on each side. So when you're actually touching this one, it's actually also touching this one. So you can be using it at the same time for 2 different things. So when you advance it to this one is also touching on this one. So whatever function you have on this one will also be, whatever function you'll have on this one will be done at the same time. Just to give you an example, I use something like this for my wiper switches, because as many of you know, like, I don't have a full setup, so I just use one of these switches, but I wired the 2 different sides for the left wiper and the right wiper, so that way as I'm going through the motions with this switch, which is really hard to do without a knob on it, you're actually activating both wipers at the same time with just one. Each time you click one, you go to park, low, medium, and high, which is another one of the examples that I'm going to use for this switch right here, but with only one set of connections. Alright, and then you got some crazy looking ones like this one here, which I'm not sure if you're able to pick it up here, but this one has 4 throws, and I believe each one of these has 4 poles and 3 throws with each one. So you can actually assign it 4 different functions for each flick of the switch. So you'll be performing, let's say you're performing this function here, you'll also be performing this one here, and this one here, and this one here with each flick of the switch. Alright, so that's kind of useful, I guess. I don't know about 4 of them, but definitely 2 of them. So, and like I mentioned before, you can select different types of knobs that you want to put at the end of them, and some of them, like this one, already came this short like this, but some of them come like this, very long handles on them, or the shafts. So you can just cut them to size, which is what I did with one of these. I don't remember. No, this one is one like this. But you can actually just cut them to size, whatever size you need to make the shaft in the middle there. And once again, I'm going to recommend, you can connect these directly to the Arduino, of course. But then again, if you have, let's say, 2 of these, you're already going to be taking up 16 inputs on your Arduino. When instead you can use a multiplexer and you can connect 2 of these and use all 16 of them, but only use 2 pins on the Arduino. So like always, I'm always going to say and recommend that you set yourself up a data system bus distribution, and you're going to use multiplexers to do it. That way you can use a ton of inputs without wasting all the pins on the Arduino, which you might need for something else later. So now real quick, we're going to go over to the website, and like I always say, I'm always going to recommend that you read it. You're going to hear me say that over and over. And you're going to go to the input section, and you're going to go to the rotary switch section, and right here you're going to read all about these switches right here. So once again, you're going to connect the ground, it's going to be connected to the pole, and the individual inputs that go either to the Arduino or to the multiplexer are going to be connected to all the different contacts on the outer perimeter of the switch. And here he shows also like different pictures of the different types, and he actually shows some of the mini ones right here, the little tiny ones. If you look at this picture here, this is where it shows exactly how the wiring is done, which is pretty much what I just showed you in the real life one out here that I have. And he also gives some pretty good examples about, like you can make a flaps lever with a lot of tiny buttons, that are going to be each one of the positions of the flaps. So whenever you get that handle in each position, is going to be pressing on one of these button switches. And once again, that's all a rotary switch is really a permanent contact, latching contact, switch, because as long as you have it in a certain position, it's making contact there. So, and that's what pretty much. Oh, this is very, very interesting. I don't have one of these. I want to try to get one of these. These are called binary coded rotary switches. But instead of using a ton of inputs, like for example 8, you can get one that only uses 3 inputs, and is gonna give you 8 positions. So this kind of works like the rotary encoders. It sends a hex signal to the device, and then it interprets it to determine what position it's in. But that's a lot of that programming, of course, is done behind the scene, by them. And he also shows basically how you can use a potentiometer with a whole bunch of resistors to pretend like it's a rotary switch, because you basically have a different resistance level, depending on how many resistors the current has to go through. Is going to have, a certain resistance after this one, then more after this one, and more after this one, because you're putting a whole bunch of resistors in series, so that's going to make it pretend like it's a whole bunch of different switches, but in reality it's a potentiometer. I've never tried that either, so I'm not going to be showing that, and I don't think there's really any need for that if you can get yourself some rotary switches. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to give you my examples like always. So we're going to go to the configurator, and once again, the first thing we need to do, as I think I mentioned that before many times, I have this multiplexer here on pin number 8 of the Arduino. So we're just going to basically tell the configurator that on pin number 8 we want an input multiplexer. And like I said before, we're basically going to go to the 737. I use that airplane a lot because one is pretty much the airplane, the airliner that I fly the most, and second, because it has a lot of good examples. Oh, that's so interesting that this note right here says that something changed or something's gonna change, but we're already on 1.0.86, so this is old. Alright, so we're gonna go to the windshield wiper, which is in this section here, and we're gonna select the left one, and I believe I have that one on 8, 11 and above. So we're gonna put that on 11. And if you notice, one of the cool things about it too is that it already adds the number of inputs necessary. So this one, as you can see, has 1, 2, 3, 4 positions. So you can see that it takes up 4 positions on your pins here. So that's kind of cool that they already added that. You don't even need to tell it how many positions because it's already programmed. And now we're going to go to the EFIS here, and we're going to use the one with the 8 positions for the map range. So we'll just select this one, rotary switch, and it's a regular multi-position switch here. So we're going to put it starting on 0, and it takes up the 8 slots that it needs. So that's all we need to do. We just save the configuration file, overriding whatever it is that we have there now. And then we can go over to the simulator. Alright, and I usually like to bring up the input options one just so that you can see, you know, which input is activated when I do that. So let's go ahead and use the windshield wiper first. Let me see. Okay, oops, a little bit more. Alright, so there's our windshield wiper right there. So we'll go ahead and activate this one here. Right now it's on part. There's the intermittent. Oh wow, I forgot that it's barely visible there, huh? Okay, but you can see that it moves right there. You can see the switch moving up here on the top, and you can also obviously see the wiper going crazy there. So that one works as advertised. And now we're going to go down to the EFIS panel. Let's see. I guess let's see if you can see that. Yeah, I think you can see that right there. So obviously right now you can tell that we are in the lowest range, the 5, which is half, you know, 2.5 right here. You're gonna see the switch moving right there. So we're gonna go through the full range. There's the 10s, there's 20, 40, 80, 160, and 320. So yeah, it's working perfectly fine. And all we had to do was select the pictures on the image maps, put them where we have the button actually wired to, and that's it. Oh, you know what? I didn't reload the configuration because I had already tried it before I recorded it, so it was already pretty much correct to begin with. But remember, every time you make any changes to the configuration, you have to hit reload configuration here for the changes to be loaded in. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about rotary switches. Somebody had asked me, I think a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week or two ago, about how to program the range on the map, I think for the EFIS. I believe that was a question that was asked, and I actually mentioned to that person that I already had intentions of recording a video on rotary switches. So this one right here hopefully answers that question, so you can see how very, very easy it is to do that. As long as you have the wires correctly, just remember you need to have them wired in the correct order in order for you not to have any weird, you know, jumping around of your functions, you know, because if you don't wire them in the correct order to the pins, then you might go for, like, for example, on the windshield wiper, you might go from off to high, and then to intermittent, and then to low, you know. So you need to make sure that you put them in the right order on your pins in order for everything to work as it's supposed to work. All right, so but that's pretty much it for this video. I think these components are pretty easy, you know, they're pretty self-explanatory and everything. I just go through all the steps like if it was the first time somebody was looking at this, because, you know, if they don't know, once again, how to put them into the configurator, or when I'm talking about the multiplexer and all that, that's why I show that every single time when I do a video, you know. So it's gonna get a little repetitive for some of you guys who have seen all the videos, but it might really help out somebody who this is their first video they're watching. or you know they want to ask a question about specifically about that component. So hopefully it's all right with everybody. And well, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.